What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Essential Scares podcast, and today I'm your host, Alan. And with me, as always, the man who doesn't miss a show, Bobby.
Hello, it's me, the man who doesn't miss a show, Bobby.
Why do we keep letting him get away with this? We have to pick up his slack.
Because he has two small children, and I get it.
That's fine, I guess. I guess we can let it slide. He's in the happiest place ever, unlike some of the characters in Ringu.
The Freudian hellscape known as Disney World.
Yes, indeed. They're having a blast over there. And you know what? We'll be happy to hear what Corbin thinks of this film next time he's on the show. We've got a wonderful show planned for you. We're here to talk about one of the most iconic horror films to come out of Japan ever, Ringu, with one of the most successful American adaptations, The Ring. But before we get into any of that, Bobby has a spoiler warning.
I do. This will serve as your first one and only spoiler warning for Ringu. If you do not want Ringu spoiled for you, please skip the time codes in our show notes or description for our essential spoiler-free discussion. Fun and potentially little-known fact about the movie Ringu. This is actually an adaptation of an American classic. That's right, The Grudge. Alan.
Okay, I have to know, little behind the scenes baseball. When did you write that? I need to know. Did you come up with that when we got on? I finally got something. Okay.
There was a time when you were typing what you're about to read, I was like, there it is, I found it, and
yes. Perfect. Oh my gosh. This film has one of the most effective cold opens in any horror film we've watched for this show. It is so damn good. You've got these two girls talking about an urban myth and legend, and like the character who dies, it goes in this whole diatribe. Oh my gosh, here's what's happening about. You watch this video and then you get a call and you're told you're going to die in 7 days, and then they just laugh it off entirely, and then the phone rings. Its pacing is perfect. And it's just her mom calling to check in, tell her she's gonna be late. Her friend then goes to the bathroom, and then the ring monster happens. Now, do you see this ring monster? Do you see Sadako immediately? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The movie knows how to entice you, how to pull you in. It just reels you in. Phenomenal cold open. We then find out that it's not just this one person that died in this specific event. There's 3 other people. This kind of pulls interest from local newspaper, local law enforcement. This is crazy. Why are 4 children dying in the middle of nowhere? Which then kind of brings in our lead, Asakawa, who is a local reporter who is personally affected by this. Her niece dies as is the person we see in the beginning of the film. This causes her to eventually watch the VHS and bring in more and more and more of her family into the fold, trying their best to end the curse. And they push for a last-ditch effort to only find out that one of them, one was able to survive, one was not, and there's an awful, awful decision that has to be made at the end of the film to save her young son's life. And let's open it from there.
Sure.
What a film.
So good. The movie that single-handedly, well, not single-handedly, but single-handedly brought Japanese horror to the Western audience. It's just of course this movie kicks ass.
Yeah. This is like if we were an anime podcast and we're going to do we're going to do the episode on Akira. It's yeah, of course. There's not it's just...
Y'all Speed Racer?
Exactly.
Also, just so you guys are aware, we are American and we are Midwestern Americans, so a lot of words that spoken in fluent Japanese will have a little bit more fluidity, where you're going to get a lot of hard consonant sounds from us, and we do apologize for that, but that's the phonetics that we got, baby.
Yep. But I don't speak any tonal languages. I'm sorry. I
speak the most German English possible.
That's actually incredibly accurate. Oh man. This film is just so expertly shot, and the thing also that I noticed is like there are jump scares in this film distinctly. The one that kind of comes to mind is pretty early on after the um Asakawa goes to her sister's house to pay respects and everything, and she goes up to her niece's room and she's just kind of looking around, and she's just kind of in the area, and like it just the camera just shifts, and then the mother is there just standing there, and it's interesting seeing a more subtle attempt at a jump scare, which kind of feels like an oxymoron to say a subtle jump scare, but it really is. It's not something like we would see in the American version where it's just like scary image up in
Boom,
your face and
boom, or
music.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just more, and now she's there, and it's stuff like that, the kind of like dread and horror that just permeates this film is just very like it kind of seeps into you. You kind of just know like there's a cloud hanging over this movie all the time. It's great.
This movie is like there's some really cool things about this movie. One is like this movie is structured like a noir, right? Like just like a murder mystery. But there's this lingering like you have 7 days. And like every 15 or so minutes of this movie, it's just like, by the way, it's tomorrow now, right?
Yep.
By the way, it's tomorrow again. And it's just like, so there's just like ramping up of tension that just like, fuck. You always know what day it is. You always know what's going on. Like, and like you're unraveling this like weird, like weird mystery. And it's pretty dope.
Well, and it's also just fine. Like you really don't know much about the main players and like how the players in the curse and anything till like the last 30 minutes. Like that sounds kind of negative in terms of a mystery, but it just works perfectly. Like you really don't have nearly enough answers post halfway. They're still just trying to figure out like some of the basics of like where they even need to look for this information on what's happening, and it pacing. It's just paced beautifully.
Well, and one of the best parts about this is you never actually really get a full picture ever.
Yeah.
Right? Like
yeah, they give like rough like we think this is why the doctor killed his bastard daughter. Like,
well, and then you find out no, actually she's just fucking evil. Like like
yeah.
It's like
so it's like is he justified? I don't know. Maybe like
she's an evil girl who wants to murder with her brain meat. Like it's just like
well, and you have to wonder what the pitch meeting is like, because it's like, okay, all right, so we've got this idea, all right, let ESP murder. Okay, where are you going with that? Sure.
What if we took this thing that we have in Japanese folklore, the string-haired ghost? What if we just made it so that they show up after somebody plays, and this is not ironic, somebody plays a videotape of a recording of late night public access. That they describe exactly where this videotape shows up. They had they had late night public access that they were recording a show on their DVR in their town, and apparently Sadako just waits for someone to be on watching TV too late. Like
that feels like just that's such a silly idea, but it works. Like you're never questioning like the logic of this film throughout the film. It's just kind of like, yeah, this is just this is just what we're in. And I think it just works.
What is his name? Yari, the kid?
Their son?
Yeah.
Yoichi,
yeah. He's like when he gets caught in the videotape, it's like, oh yeah, of course, it's late night. He's just trying to find something on the TV. Like that checks, I guess. Like what the fuck? But okay, like
well, and it's also like that very beginning with the two teenagers just like talking about it too. It's the same kind of thing there, and then like shortly thereafter, Asakawa's interviewing other teens who've heard about this that's happening, and they're just like, it's all on the news. Like they're just talking like just as if it's just a normal thing happening. It's so. It's so unserious until it's absolutely very, very serious. Like it's I wouldn't say played for laughs, but it kind of feels like that to some
Sure.
degree, with the like high school girls.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and like this movie isn't funny, but only because but that scene almost feels weirdly out of place. But I think it's supposed to remind you, like, yeah, this is like a rumor to most people. Like we
Hmm.
know something happened because we were down there, but like, is it really that? Like, I think it almost like you're watching this and you're like, it's Ringu, it's the ring. When's the girl with the hair gonna show up? But imagine watching this in 1998 and not knowing, right?
Yeah,
This could very easily be a slasher movie, right? Like all like, and so we're basing it around this videotape, but we don't know if this is like real or not. But then all of a sudden, shortly after, it keeps pushing you into this isn't normal, this isn't real, because they start talking about the two teenage girl, and this is even before they show the niece, right? The two teenagers who died while making out in their car. The doors were locked. There was no sign of forced entry, and like they're pale as ghosts. Like
they have
it's like
the mouth agape,
yeah,
eyes huge,
yeah,
like the creepiest face a person can make.
dying of
Um,
fright. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. It's just it's horrifying what
yeah,
they like how people look after they they get their heart stopped by
sure.
Sadako. Um, and then it just there's all of that, there's all this urban myth, there's all this this drama, there's the family interchange between Asakawa, and she then brings in Ryuji, her ex-husband, into the mix, and like Ryuji and Yoshi have a very awkward moment between
Yeah. The
themselves that
only
is just,
time they're together in that movie is
that's it. They meet each
yeah,
other as they're walking in the rain, and it's just kind of, and the kid just walks around his dad. It is it, it I don't know, it's just
it's
it's
very clear. You
really
get a
cool.
very clear sign that Ryuji is not a good man. Yeah,
Yes,
and
yes.
that never and like even in that movie doesn't ever really super let up. Like
Yeah.
like
He's kind of just always an asshole.
yeah, and he's got like supernatural he's got the what is it ESP powers,
Hmm.
but like he's still just like it's like incidental to his character. His like main character trait is asshole. Like,
Yeah, and he's also just, oh yeah, I also can sense things.
yeah,
Okay.
it's super helpful, and you also get the idea that Asakawa can do it too at some point in this movie
Hmm.
because like she also has like this weird connection and
Hmm.
like
Well, and I mean, when she's in Tameko's room, the girl who dies at
yeah
the very beginning, like she sees I mean, is she like when they show us Tameko's body, how it's found, which is also
yeah
terrifying and is like a straight up jump scare, like a jump scare proper. Um, is she actually seeing that? Is it just for our viewing? Like it
yeah
kind of, you don't necessarily, I wouldn't say I thought that when I watch with like initial watch through, but then thinking back on the fact that there is this element, it's like, well, maybe she did feel that. You know what I mean?
yeah
It leaves that kind of open, I would say.
yeah.
So,
Well, and there's like to that end too, and like because like just to like round the entire ESP of it, right? There's moments in this movie that you can't tell whether or not you're looking at like a reflection or a shadow or it's Sadako, right? When
mm,
she like there's a scene that like it was shot so weird and it was like and it like when she goes out into the balcony after Ryuji takes Asakawa's picture
mm-hmm. And her face is
behind
all
her
blurry.
yeah
Oof.
behind her is like the back of her reflection, but it looks weirdly because she's like wearing like a white like top or whatever, so it looks like it's Sadako
Mm.
because you've seen her already in the tape.
Yeah,
So like
you see
yeah,
it in the background
so
too. Yeah.
you've got like a little bit of like is she being followed? What's happened? Like is she being haunted? Like there's just like this movie is like 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 just art in subtlety. It's just like it's
Mm.
so incredibly subtle, but like it always, always works. Right? Like they beat you over the head with some of the plot so that the movie can just be subtle. Like And I think that's what really makes it work, right? Because it's like, okay, so we're trying to find out what happened to Sadako, right? Because we've got 7 days before she comes out of the TV to murder, right? Or something happens. We die. Okay. Which, again, it's what's even more weird is we're never actually told that in this movie
Yeah.
a single time. Right, we're like the American version is notorious for the 7 days. Like,
I love that. I was expecting it this whole time
yep,
when I'm watching it, and then it gets to the sequence where it's like, oh, here it comes, here
yeah.
comes the 7 days, the creep, and you don't get that. They don't give that to you, and I love it.
No,
You know
it's
what it reminds me of?
what's that?
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, yeah,
That was what I was saying in the pre-show. That's what this reminds me of.
yeah.
You need to fill in the gaps.
That
We're going to give you everything, and we're going to let your imagination of what this
Yeah.
person had to have heard actually be. Or what did Tamako see causing her to die? Why are these kids gaunt-faced, huge open mouths, absolutely terrified? You fill in the gaps of what you think that is. And then eventually they do give you what
Some
they
of it,
saw.
yeah.
But it's like you are forced to fill in the gaps for so long. I mean,
Yeah.
literally an hour. The movie's what, I think an hour 35. You have to put in you fill in the gap for an hour and 28 of those minutes.
Yeah.
Like they really make you like earn it to the very end. It's great.
Well, and you assume it's bad, right? Because you watch
Yes.
the video tape and it's like, what the fuck is happening? And they're like going frame by frame, and like there's like the people like crawling backwards on the ground, and like that. Oh God, they're so and then they find the like the goblins will eat you if you hang out in the ocean for too long, and it's just like the kids Instagram's like, God damn. And like you would have thought they would have done more with that in the American version, because that is such a bigger part of that. You know what I mean? Like this like a nursery rhyme type
Yeah.
thing. But
Well, and especially because like you could almost like have it be somewhat of an homage to like Freddy. Like in a way, not exactly, but like you kind of like there's that idea of a nursery rhyme in horror is already like integral to American horror. It's a key pillar of it. So you could have absolutely built something off of that. But then I think the big reason why they didn't is kind of one of the big differences between The Ring and Ringu is that whole plot of ESP, which is really what that's kind of tied into, is just not there in the American version. It just isn't.
Which is, I think, is actually not. I think American audiences would have looked at it kind of sideways, so I get why they didn't keep it, but I think it actually does take away from like this. It takes away from like a really interesting subplot. I think that the fact that all of them have potential psychic powers like adds to the strangeness of it in a really
well, and it makes the whole like you have to think through the morality of this film a lot more with that added in, because you have Sadako's mom. I don't remember her name.
Is it
It's I think something with an H.
is it Shizuku?
That sounds correct.
1 second. Yama something. I can't remember.
Okay. Because like you have this whole sequence where she's doing this public demonstration of ESP and like, see, it's correct, and everyone says it's a sham. But then Sadako kills the main reporter guy on the spot in front of everybody. So
then everybody goes, it's real, and she's a murderer.
Yeah, exactly. So and like that whole thing causes her mother to die. Like there's this whole like layering that goes on with that added plot that I think just it makes you question like the motives of people a bit more seriously than what you have in the American version. So it just adds on.
Again, there's like both sides. I think like one of my favorite it is again a movie that gets brought up in a non-infrequent amount of times. Scary Movie 3. the whole there's a whole subplot of this movie that movie that's Ring, and they basically just track the ring. So they end up like opening up the well, and the Samara or Sadako's spirit comes out and goes, "Wow, Sarah, you have freed me. I can love the world and thank you all." And they go, "Really?" And then she just turns right back into like David goes, "Nah, I'm just screwing with you." And that's like legitimately just like the plot of this movie is just like there's this big scene at the end where they're like just like in disgusting water underneath a cabin, and like she finds her body and then just peels off the skin, like because it's like sloshes off, and she's just
So
like
gross.
hugging the skeleton like, I found you,
We can
and
put
then
you
the
to
next
rest.
and then the next scene, Ryuji just gets fucking absolutely murdered immediately. But at the same time, he's not quite dead, because he shows up with like the towel over his head, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
what the fuck?
Oh, because he's an ESP guy, so he's
Yeah.
dead, but not, like, oh. Well, and even with that sequence when they're in the well too, like it's when she's down there and Sadako's arm comes out.
Yeah.
Again, it's a jump scare that just works
Yeah.
so damn well.
It doesn't need
Like,
noise. It just is like, you
no.
know what's coming, right? Because this movie just plays with tension in such an intense and, dare I say, correct way.
Mm-hmm. It builds tension constantly. Well, and that sequence is not short. Like them getting there and pulling out all that water. Like it's not a short sequence.
No.
So like you're kind of like thinking, okay, all right, we have to be at a point where something's gonna happen eventually, and you keep thinking that, and then they finally, pull that on you, and that's when she does. It's just, again, it's the pacing of this film is just excellent in every aspect. They know precisely when they need to just do something to really ratchet up the tension. It constantly has like the perfect foresight to add those bits.
Oh yeah,
that are just excellent.
it's very good. It is very, very. I mean, I don't know. I ask the question every time, but I don't know if I have an answer for myself. Is there anything we disliked about this movie?
Uh,
Like it's 90 minutes, and it feels like a 2-hour movie that you'd say that was 2 hours. What you know what I mean? Like it
yeah,
feels like so compact that like it moves and it's interesting, and it's just like, man, yeah,
I don't have any real complaints. I mean, it's the subtlety of this film is on full display constantly, and I wouldn't say I didn't know I wanted that out of this movie, but like I'm going on my, like, I've seen The Ring. I know kind of how the
yeah.
general flow of what that film is, and it's just not this delicate. And I didn't necessarily know that's what I was getting out of this movie. I didn't know like precisely what I was going to get. And we finish it, and I'm like, well, that was just like, what am I gonna? I legitimately like sat here and I went, what the hell am I gonna have a problem with? Did
Yeah.
I have any problems? I don't really. Nothing necessarily comes to mind. I mean, the only negative, and it's not even, is like it's not great necessarily to just read subtitles for a whole film. And I only say that because I feel like a lot of times, me personally, I like focus in on the subtitles and I miss like background things.
Sure.
But that's just what I mean. That's just the cost of doing business with an international film.
Racist
It is what
Alan
it is.
over here. Racist,
Sorry.
xenophobic Alan over here.
I
Unbelievable.
I guess the only negative, and it's only because like the whole bit with figuring out the
I thought you were that. The only negative is this movie's just full of Asians. I just don't know what to tell you.
yeah, it's awful. I hate it. It's when they figure out the nursery rhyme, that sequence I was a little confused, but again, that's just I don't speak Japanese. So like
Yeah.
them trying to figure out the subtleties of that part I was a little like, what's happening here? But
There-
it's not, that's just more so I don't speak the language. After they then explain what happened, I'm like, oh, okay, I get it now.
Well, again, I think that would have been. That's an issue with the subtitling.
Yeah.
Right? Like put a, reversed or warbled word, like
Yeah.
indistinguishable words or something like that, right? Like, okay, so they hear language. I think I'm hearing language myself, so
Yeah.
No, I hear you. I agree. There's really nothing negative to talk about this movie. It's one of those movies that like I don't know, just feels sometimes that like it's without reproach. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I don't know. Like I hope a sequel's good, but I don't. It's one of those. It's another one of those things I think is kind of like it's like I don't think this movie needs one of those. Like I think this
No.
movie is just kind of like standing on its own and done. So that's something that kind of like I look sideways on. Um, I think the ending is just this is a good thing. It's like so fucking dark. Like
So dark.
because like, it's like the worst bit too is like Asakawa's dad, grandpa, is like the best thing in Yochi's
He's,
life.
he's
Like
amazing.
he's like the only good thing he's got, and she's gonna kill him so that Yochi can live. It's just like,
Well, and it's so hammered home. Like, I mean, they even talk about it. Asakawa and Ryuji's like, is it okay for him to be alone this much?
yeah,
Like, because that's clearly a thing that it is not the first time that type of a question has been asked. Like,
yeah.
just straight up, that is absolutely a discussion that has been had between these two people at some point before the moment we see it.
Well, and it's
Um,
like it's also like he probably shouldn't be, but you also should probably be in his life. So
yeah,
like everybody's
yeah.
looking for someone else to blame for this shitty parenting. It's just like, yeah, I don't.
Yeah. Well, and I guess the one key thing we haven't necessarily talked about is, well, why is it that Asakawa lives and Ryuji dies? And it's because
Yeah,
the way around the curse is to make a copy and show somebody else. So it's the classic, email chain, the phone chain. You need to call X amount of people, otherwise you're gonna go bankrupt, sucker. Like it's that thing,
yeah,
but except if you don't copy it and show somebody, you die. So, and then late night TV happens, and we start the process all over again with the curse. So, Ryuji was shown a copy, so he is the one who gets got by the curse. And then, as Bobby kind of alluded to, the movie ends so dark. Asakawa's driving out to see her father, and it just ends with her saying, "I need you to do a favor for me, Dad." So
yeah.
she's gonna show him the film, and he'll die instead of Yoshi. It's just so like it
It's
just ends
fucked.
like that.
It's fucked.
It's
It's
so oh my gosh. It's so dark. So dark.
it's like that scene is what reminds you that this is a horror movie and not a noir, right? Because it's just
Yes.
like it you know what it reminds me of the movie called The Changeling. It's like where The Changeling ends kind of with that happy ending. This one just goes, "Oh, by the way, no, like
Yeah,
shit's
no,
bad.
there's
Shit's bad. You couldn't fix it, right? This isn't some like avenging spirit. No, this demon child likes to murder people, and you just like
you
and
just
your
gave her two
sons
more souls.
and your son is next. Like,
Yeah. And quickly too. I mean, she
yeah,
doesn't have a lot of time after that because
no,
he sees it maybe a day or two after Ryuji saw it. Maybe a little. No, because it had to be a little later than that because it was when they went and visited
yep.
her father initially. So maybe 3 or 4 days max. It's terrible. It's such a dark end. And again, like victory is achieved, quote unquote, there's maybe 10 minutes left of this film.
Yeah,
So like you go like, "Oh, we're good. This is great." And then it's like, "Hey,
ha,
fuck you."
yeah.
Not only is Ryuji dead, now we're going to kill grandpa cuz fuck you. Like it's
You
so
get
like
no fun. You
you get
lose.
nothing. Exactly. Yeah. Gene Wilder actually
Yeah.
shows up and tells you lose to everyone. It's very strange in a
No,
Japanese film.
in all honesty, it's just so fucked because you're like, man, what a great movie. When are the credits gonna roll? Why aren't the credits rolling?
Yeah.
Man,
This should be over.
man, Ryuji's just hanging out in his apartment laughing at an essay. I guess they're gonna show like this Yoji and Asakawa to, why is the TV on?
and then you go like, oh wait,
Oh fuck the
I
movie.
well, you go like you again having the like context of the American version. You're like, oh, we haven't seen the scene yet.
Wait, no TV, wait, no.
Yeah, and it's just, and then it just,
And
you get what you get. It's so dark and brutal.
Yeah.
I love it.
And then like she's all confused, and then she's just and fucking it. The last 10 minutes of this movie is like it's like the opposite of the cold open in Suspiria, where it's like it's a cold ending.
A cold, bitter ending.
Yeah.
Deal with it.
Yeah.
And then we cut to credits on this beautiful looking like
like
Japanese vista.
It's drinking lukewarm vodka ending.
You're just sitting there like, damn it.
Well,
I thought I was gonna get out of this one.
I don't want this, but I guess I need it now. Like,
yeah. Yeah. Deal with it. That's just how it goes.
You ready to rate this bad
boy?
Yeah,
I think we're ready to rate this bad boy. How do we do that, Bobby?
Oh, we rate this bad boy 0 out of 5 with half points allowed. So a 5, or other scores. Yeah, that's fine.
I guess
5.25.
Oh,
that's out for 2 different reasons. It's above the 5, and it's a quarter point, which we don't allow on this metric system.
Unacceptable. We just can't have that.
Because I did this, Alan, you go first.
Okay. This was such an easy 5. It's hilarious. Like, it can't not be. It is one of the most iconic Japanese horror films in existence. It's one of the best like avenues with which to experience a different culture's horror that I think is fascinating. Like with being inundated in the horror we have in the West, it's its own thing. To have a totally different look on it, and that's the other thing. Like we kind of stressed it a bit. This is like you can clearly tell the Ring and Ringu are the same film, but it's totally different avenues with which to get to those beats and those bits. And that flavor is just super interesting to have because it's just not something we really get over here. Easy 5.
Yeah. Arguably the second most iconic Japanese horror film next to Godzilla. In all honesty, yeah. It's like this, Godzilla, Ju-On the Grudge, and Hausu are like the movies that you think of in descending order or rising order if you're a giant pretentious horror fuck like me. Of course this movie's a 5, right? Like, and obviously, right, it's just this movie is so incredibly well paced, well put together. It's a movie where you're watching it in 2023 lenses. You kind of have an idea of what's going to happen, in the same way that, like, if you watch a Friday the 13th, if you watch a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, you kind of know who Freddy Krueger is, right? But like that doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna be like not blown away watching the original Nightmare on Elm Street, right? Like,
yeah.
So like, there's a reason why movies like this gain it. It's just because they're lightning in a bottle. Like, there's just something about this movie. Like, the sound design is so good. It revolutionized. Like, it kind of brought in like a weird found footage element, because there is literal found footage. Like, it's not a found footage movie, but it's a movie that implements so much of horror in such an interesting way. So yeah, of course it's a 5 out of 5.
Yeah, one of the easier 5s. I think I've ever given in this show. Like, it was such an easy one. But It's not the only thing we do here on this show, Bobby.
What?
I know.
No.
There's this whole bit, essential scares. Now, of course, this bit of the show is spoiler free. We have to decide, is Ringu essential? And as a recap, if you skipped over to this chunk of the show, you didn't want to hear our lovely thoughts. We both gave this movie a 5. And I'm gonna take a bold prediction here, but I'd be willing to bet Corbin probably would give it a 5 as well. We can't confirm that. We gotta wait for him to give us that. But with that information, Bobby,
Yes.
is Ringu essential?
Is Ringu essential?
Yeah, I have to ask the question.
Well, see, here's the thing, right? Do you think a movie that was so good that America said, yeah, this movie might be perfect, but I can do it better, is essential? Would you get it? Yeah, of course it's essential, right?
Yeah.
It's a movie in the era of remakes, right? They remade an iconic movie and they just made it just worse. The Ring, like if you like The Ring, you're gonna think, man, I really wish they made it more like Ringu. And if you don't like The Ring, go watch Ringu anyway. You might like it. It's it's a masterclass. Giving nothing away, this movie is a masterclass, and from what I've seen of Japanese horror in this era, very much emblematic of that, right? Ju-Yeon, there's another movie that I can't think of that is like about the .com era. It's really cool. The Audition, as well, although it's different, but there's like this like the nihilism of this movie is just like mwah. So it's very emblematic of this era of Japanese horror, and I think it's probably the most iconic of that. So yeah.
Yeah, it's essential. I mean, this is horror icon. Like appears in Dead by Daylight levels of iconic. I can't speak. It's amazing. Like this is a character that is so well known. There's the the Japanese version of Freddy versus Jason, which we'll get to this movie later, is Ju-On versus Ringu, basically.
Hell
Like
yeah.
I mean that is the level. Like I think that is like the most like in a bottle way to emblemize to show just how big this character is to that like specific genre of horror, that there is that like match up type movie, which is just kind of crazy, and I'm very much so looking forward to watching that. Yeah, I mean, this is a masterclass, as Bobby said. This is a masterclass in horror. This is required viewing for someone who wants to either direct horror or just be into the genre. Like this is on your summer reading list. You can't do anything about it. You gotta put it in. You got to. You have to.
The movie I couldn't remember the name of is Pulse. It's a Kurosawa flick.
Ooh, yeah, interesting.
It's really good. But no, I agree with you entirely. But speaking of summer reading lists, what's your handle? Where can we find you?
You can find me at a seal punter just about anywhere. Where, instead of having fun disc golfing, this past week I got in a car accident.
Woo!
So yeah, it was a real fun go, let me tell you. Doing fine now. Had some minor internal problems. Those will go away with time and
Not if I
concentrated.
Can say anything about it.
Oh God, no. I do have the joke in my pocket for the rest of my life that I know what it feels like to be hit by a truck, and I will absolutely use it. So yeah.
Gross.
Other than that, I got to actually go do something today instead of stay in my house. I went and threw my discs around just to do some amount of activity. Doc gave me the clear to actually be a little more active. To give a quick breeze, I had some minor problems with my lungs from my seatbelt that restrained me from flying into my car all over the place. So I have to be a little more careful with strenuous activity for the next month or so. The other big thing is there's this tiny, very small indie game that came out called Starfield. That
I've heard that game has pronouns in it.
It does actually.
Oh.
And you know what? They literally never mention it after the very beginning.
Have you seen?
So
You
I
know
don't.
that video I'm talking about?
Okay, so yes, I know exactly.
Okay.
It's funny you say that. I don't do Twitter anymore, just at all. I deleted it from my phone. It's been wonderful, by the way. Delete Twitter. It's a 12 out of 10 move. And
I don't know
I
what are you
occasionally.
talking about?
Oh, I'm sorry, X.
Thank
My
you.
bad. I apologize. I occasionally will pull it up, like on Safari on my phone, just to see what's going on in the world of X, because I just dip my toe in and then get the fuck back out. And I like scrolled for 3 seconds and saw like 5 different people I follow all making fun of the same guy, and I'm like, oh,
Pronouns.
it's so dumb.
It's the dumbest shit in the world. I fucking love that guy.
It's so dumb. But the game, man. Oh, it's everything I need. It's Bethesda in space. It's quite literally the perfect game for me. So
Yeah, see,
that is the other thing consuming my life.
I was going to like that game, but again, a bald
Pronouns.
fat man on the internet said they had pronouns in it, so now I must hate everything because
Absolutely.
I just can't let people live their fucking lives apparently.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. A seal punter. You can find me at twitch.tv/theredweenie. What have I been up to? Nothing much. I got super into what is apparently the most popular MOBA game. Mobile Legends Bang Bang.
This sounds like a Korean game that makes literally billions of dollars.
Oh, almost assuredly. I've spent $0 on it, and I'm pretty sure I am in the equivalent of silver rank right now, but quickly rising through. It's fun. It's a fun little game. I enjoy it. It's so because I don't have a lot of time, so I can like just throw one on for like 20 minutes and just like anywhere where I'm at and just kind of okay, cool, and then. So
nice.
It's nothing special. Nice. Other than that, yeah, we're gonna be starting to raid Destiny again very, very, very soon.
Back,
so
baby.
yeah, Crota's back, so that's kind of fun. Woot woot. So you'll see both of us on there with that. And yeah, twitch.tv/theredwater.
Nice. Yeah. And of course, you can find the podcast just about anywhere at Essential Scares. We did create a Threads. Let me rephrase that. Corbin created a Threads for us because I got a follow request from it the other day. So it exists. They finally did the desktop version so that Corbin would actually get on there and do that. So hooray, follow us on Threads. We might post there and talk about things. Yeah. Coming up next. Continuing along with our International Festival of Films. An International Film Festival.
Your unions, people.
Exactly. We're going to go back to one that was an incredibly contentious review from myself back in the before times of Essential Scares. We're going to be watching Raw, French horror film from 2016. Looking forward to the rewatch on this one. It's been 2 years? 3 years since we watched that, I think?
The origin of Alan's sour grapes. Like
this is the film. This is the narrative dissonance film that we've referenced many, many times. This is it. So looking forward to covering it again. I have reluctantly, if I'm being honest, been your host, Alan. And this has been Essential Scares.
Play that breakdown, baby. Corbin with you.